all you have to do is just do the things no one is willing to do. And guess what? It's not even a lot.
What is your opinion of all of this? When you read it in the news, are you disappointed? Are you like...
I'm worried. I'm really worried. I'm worried about the kind of men my daughters are going to find.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to... First of all, let me not even say welcome yet. Let me just say how happy I am to be back on set with my man, Play One.
We're back.
We're back in full effect, sir. Thank you, man. We're recording live from Writers Lounge, Acacia Place. Much love and appreciation to the management at Writers for allowing us to come and use this venue to host our first episode back in a long time. It's been a long time. We shouldn't have left you without the dopest podcast, the dopest program. That's your job. That's your job. But we're excited. I'm excited, man. And there's no better person for us to welcome as our guest back into this new season of Allergic to Average. This is a man who I appreciate so much for his business ethic, his entrepreneurial brilliance, his style, his swag, and just generally being an all-around good guy, man. I think he's a legend in the game. And when we asked him to participate and sit down with us, he was gracious enough to give us his time. And we're going to make the most of it today. So welcome, Julius Kyazze, to the Allergic to Average show. Thank you so much for joining us. First of all, man, I just want to give context, man. We've worked with Julius in various capacities in my previous job, right? Because it's not my previous job. I really have come to admire and learn a lot from you and the way that you handle your business, run your multiple businesses. And so, you know, when we think about people who are allergic to average, you could be the dictionary definition of somebody who is indeed the representation of that. So, first of all, before we get into that, what does the idea of being allergic to average mean to you?
Gabs, thanks for having me though. First, the reason I even allowed to do the podcast,
yes,
like I think I even pushed you at some point. Like, boss, what happened? You have this thing called Allergic to Average.
Yes.
So for me, the title in itself was very palatable to what I preach on a daily across my businesses, even in my life. And because society is at we're at a stage where people are told to celebrate average. And I tell people, if like this convention is so dear to me when you're talking about average and people being average and celebrating it. It's like graduations, for instance. I do not understand why people celebrate graduations.
Yeah.
Because it does not make you an exception. It's not different.
Right.
Like everyone is getting those.
Yes.
Like, what are we celebrating? Like people are throwing huge parties. And I know this is also a bit controversial. I don't think birthdays are special. I think these are things that average people celebrate because I think everyone has one. Like there's a time I was having a conversation with my daughter and I was telling her, you know, you're not the first one to be 15, eh? So it's great. We'll celebrate you, but nothing is going to stop because of that.
Yeah.
And society is just embracing people being average. And I think for the first time in a long time, it's so easy to win, especially as a guy, because not many people are willing to be exceptional. Like everyone is happy being average. Like I'm good, you know, I'm okay, I'm middle class.
Yes.
Like if you're middle class, you're average, you're a loser. Like you've lost, literally. Like, you know, because you're just going by. Like not many people are willing to push the envelope and be exceptional in everything they do. So which means for the few that are willing to go all the way and do the dirty work and forget the shine and the glamour and everything and go get that in the trenches, those few people that are willing to do that, those are the guys that will win. And it's so easy. You don't even have to be brilliant. Like I keep telling people, you don't even have to be a genius. You don't have to be next level smart. You just have to be willing to do what people are not willing to do. So basically, just don't be average. Yeah. Like people ask me many times about, you know, work-life balance. that's average. Anything that has balance is average. So if you're going to be exceptional, you have to pick your fight.
Yes, right.
You have to pick your fight. So in all sense, very allergic to average. I don't like it.
That's right.
I don't like average people around me as well.
Yeah.
Because they'll drag you with you.
Yeah.
I like people that are bold and are daring, that will do things. And we drive this even in our businesses. And if you speak to anyone in our businesses, you never get fired for failing.
Yeah.
You'll get fired for indecisiveness. Like, I didn't make this decision because I needed approval. I needed this and this didn't happen. And that will get you fired at Swangs. But at Swangs, you won't get fired for starting some, there's this new idea, it's innovative, I tried it and it backfired and we lost 100 million. No, you won't get fired for that. But you'll get fired for losing 5 million because you didn't act.
Okay.
And a lot of people are comfortable with that. Like, let me just go to school, get a job, tell me what to do, and I can go by as an average guy. So I'm super allergic to it. I don't like it.
So that's pretty much like embracing the idea of failing forward. So like you are allowed to fail as long as you're failing forward. You make a step forward as opposed to not moving.
You actually put it very well, like failing forward.
Yeah.
I never had anyone put it that way. Like allowing yourself to fail forward.
Yeah.
Instead, I usually look at it as, the future belongs to those that live in it now.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Bar, that's a quote. That's a quote.
Woo!
That's a quote.
The future belongs to those that live in it now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that could be true in every sense. Because imagine yesterday, today was your future. We had to do this podcast. But you are here yesterday when you told me we'll be here at Riders at 9. That means you are here. So if you have that power to be here tomorrow, then why not even make it a better occurrence tomorrow?
Nice. I like this.
And I don't think many people spend enough time in the future.
You're speaking to something that is very crucial to my mindset as well. When I call it being 2 steps ahead of the game, right? So it's one thing to envision yourself in the future, i.e., positioning myself today according to the goals that I want to achieve tomorrow, right? So the future belongs to those who are in it now.
Yes.
So if I'm thinking and programming my behavior according to what I want to achieve tomorrow, but I'm acting on it today, that gives me a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even just give you a competitive advantage. It just puts you in control.
That's right.
And you become content.
Yeah.
And I'll give you that in the context of our business, for instance. In music, especially in the industry in Uganda, you find a lot of creatives, their release strategy will be based on what a similar artist does.
Yes.
Or the person they presume to be their competition.
Yes.
So a lot of it is knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
We don't do that at Swangs. We sit 3 years ahead, a year ahead, and get into the future and paint the picture. What do we want to see with this artist? What does future look like? Then we start behaving like we are in that future. Then everyone else sees it later and they're like, oh, this guy's got lucky with this artist.
But it was planned.
But we've been there 2 years ago before you were there with us.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think Azau is the best example of that.
Yeah.
Because that is someone who, till now, cannot be compared to another artist. They are not too. I'm sorry to say, 98% of the industry can be compared to someone else. Get your favorite artist, there's a duplicate somewhere. But that is one artist. There are no 2 Azawis in this country. That's just like the best. Even like Elijah, name it. There are few people who are singularities. And that is one of the biggest examples that I think of when I think about is designing your own future.
Yeah. Because we know what the Swangs of 2034 needs to look like.
Nice.
Yeah, and because we have clarity on that, so we are not faced by many things. Like if you come to us today, and like, so, Julius, we have a deal to mine gold in Congo. We won't touch it because it's not part of the picture I've painted for the future.
Yeah.
It could be lucrative, but no, we want to be the biggest on the continent in terms of catalog size. We want to have the biggest content catalog on the continent. So mining gold does not fit in that conversation. And we are happy not to become miners by 2034.
Yeah.
So we are happy to, to run the biggest independent label on the continent. That's where we want to be. And and when we go there, like when you wake up in the morning and you do your routines and live in the future. I live in the future almost every day. I block off some time. So when you go there, you like that picture, you enjoy it. You don't see yourself signing mining contracts.
Yes.
And that's okay. So then gives you a level of content. Like, it's okay if Gabs wants to do gold. Gabs has love for coffee. I wish him well. And like when you package that coffee and you want to put it on the shelf and you need attention, I have the attention because I have the influencers. I have the artist. That's how I can service your dream. But I'm not going to go in the trenches and start doing coffee unless if I identify with it in the future that I see for my business. Yeah.
Now, I want to take a step back because, man, you're dropping some science on this, brother. Julius. I'm already mind blown. All of these bullet pointed notes that I had prepared to ask you intelligent questions, you're just
out intelligizing.
You're giving us a lot of game right now.
Yeah.
So take me back to the early days. When I wanted to make sure that I was properly informed about you, I read articles upon articles. I went online and 90% of what you read on the internet is not exactly fully factual. It's not exactly the most accurate situation, but here's what I know about you. As a young entrepreneur, right? You're still a young entrepreneur in the lifespan of life.
If 42 is young, yes.
Wishing you more decades of long life and more success, right?
Amen.
But as an even younger man, you had a company, Buzz Magazine, right? And through Buzz, you've created a culture for young people to shine and celebrate life and enjoy themselves, whether it be, the Buzz Teenies and everything that is related to Buzz, to me, signals showing young people how to celebrate, how to enjoy life in style, how to set trends, how to make the next wave of what it is very clear and very apparent. And now hearing you talk, how you plan meticulously years in advance, I can understand why now, a couple of decades into the game with Buzz, you're still right there at the top of the game. While a lot of other companies, particularly in this entertainment business, have come and gone, you are still creating the culture. Your fingerprints are all over whatever it is that is hot and popular right now is influenced by you and you guys and what you're doing. And then Swangs comes into the fold with all of the different artists that you've created. You entered the music business in a time when people were still buying physical CDs, when people were downloading MP3s, right? And pirating music. Now you've gone into the digital wave, streaming, and like you've said, you aspire to, if you don't already have, the largest independent music label in Africa. You have artists that are getting signed to these, global mega labels, and they are becoming internationally relevant. In a time where we see the Burna Boys, we see the Wiz Kids, we see Omale, Thames winning, Grammys and Oscar nominated. We see all of these other Africas that aren't Ugandan doing it big. But you are the one Ugandan business in this music industry that provides access to that global stage. And now hearing you talk about how you plan ahead, how you visualize, how you manifest, it's now becoming very clear to me, this is all by design. It's not by luck. Right?
I'm not a big believer in luck.
Yes.
I'm not a big believer in luck. Yeah, please, guide.
So again, luck is where opportunity meets preparation.
Yeah.
But I see you're very well prepared, right? Just talk to us a little bit more about that, man. Like, where does the giant-sized ambition to even believe that you can achieve all of this come from? Was that nurtured in you by somebody who mentored you when you were younger, or is it just you as an outlier, as a singular individual who believes that this is my time to become the greatest of all time?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Very loaded question.
It is.
But a good question. It has a lot of nuances in there that could be unpacked differently. first, so you talk about planning and the importance and how that has played in my journey.
Yeah.
And whether there was a driver.
Yeah.
Or an incident or an event that propelled me to that. So it's difficult to give one answer to that. But I know things that I've also over the years I've become aware of about myself. And one of those is growth. Like I'm very, very growth driven. Like for instance, if we have a festival, you never find me at the gate.
Right.
Okay.
Counting monies, or that doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
Like not that I don't care about the monies. The festivals must be profitable. But for me, there are other things that are ahead of that. So I don't think I've been monetarily driven per se, but I've been growth driven. Like I always want to do, better than myself. I want to be, to outdo myself every time. And it takes a bit of time, I think, to get that level of awareness. Like lately, I've done a bit of reflection. So I look back and I'm like, okay, like when we went on this African scale out and now we've opened in 4 countries, and I'm like, okay, like people start to question it. People around you start to say, no, you're moving so fast. Because at that point, I was actually sharing a lot of that. I said, no, you're moving too fast. You're going to burn out. This will happen. Then I figured I need to stop telling them, because if they knew how to do this, they would have done it.
That's right.
But now they are imposing this limitation on me, so now I'm scared.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
So I stopped sharing. I'll just pop up one day, boom, we've opened a new country, we have this festival we're doing that, we'll go ahead for as long as I know there is planning. So, but then I looked back, I was like, okay, have I just started doing this? So then I looked back, even when I was a dancer, from school, started to become a dancer, started at a dance group. But there was a dance group before that, Obsession, and they had done it for longer than we had done it. But in the space of 2 to 3 years, we felt we had done almost what they had done in about a decade or something. But then I started asking myself quickly, then what?
Yes.
What's the next thing?
Next? Yeah.
And I said, okay, this market is too saturated. So I got people's children, about 15 of them. And I was about 20 at the time. And I don't know how I convinced these guys, other young guys, and I took them to Kenya. And I told them, you know what? This is heaven now. This is the new one. We've done it in UG. This is the next hurdle. We'll go to Kenya. And we landed there. There's a long story around that. I didn't know what I was doing. I hadn't done a prior visit. I didn't know much about Kenya. It was just a gut feeling. I'm there, I'm like, I think we can win in this market. So I'd gone there just once.
But for those that don't know, what's the name of the dance group?
Eclipse.
Which one?
It was Eclipse Dancers.
Eclipse.
Yeah.
I remember Eclipse.
So Eclipse went to Kenya and then became so big.
Yeah.
But then quickly, about a year or two, again, the same question. I'm like, okay, then what next? So I've always been asking myself that question.
What next?
What next? So I've always been growth driven. I'm always asking myself, so we've done this in Uganda, then what?
Yeah.
We've sold out a stadium, then what? So I'm always asking those questions. I'm not the kind to sell out a stadium, 20, 30,000 people. And then you find me popping a bottle of wine 2 days after, we slumber, we've gone on vacation.
We're done.
Yeah, like following day, I'm thinking next one. Like even during the event, now I'm thinking, okay, how do you outdo this? How do you get better at this? How do you give a better experience to the consumers?
Yeah.
Can I say, is that what's the basis? Is that the basis for your longevity, if I may ask? Because I cannot think of a moment where, ever since buzz was the word, I cannot think of a moment where you're not somewhere. Like first, like Buzz Magazine. If you didn't know Buzz Magazine, you are not in Kampala. Then Buzz Events, awards, and now Buzz Events pretty much right now. And then when I'm comfortable thinking I know Buzz Events, someone's like, oh, by the way, we have an event in West Africa. I'm like, hold on, again? So now, like you're saying, like even right now, I don't even know what I'm going to hear in 3 years. You're not going to tell us, which is fine. But I know in 3 years I'm going to be like, they're doing this now? Is that the foundation for your ever growing like a virus pretty much growing? And the longevity.
I think that's it. I think it's growth. I think it's the desire to grow. I get so uncomfortable with comfort. Like, I think, I don't know if that's innate in me, but I never settle. And yet, it could be even a reflection of, okay, this guy is always, not settled. So, but I keep saying I'm very impatiently patient. Because there's a part of me that's so impatient. Like, I'm impatient with slow people that don't make decisions and all that, people that are going to, bullshit you along the way, everything and all, like, I'll do this and they don't do that. Like, I'm so impatient with that.
Yeah.
But yet I'm so patient with human potential. Like I believe there's a Michael Jordan in everyone at something. Like, everyone has that level of talent in something. So I'm a big believer in people. And I'm a big believer in growth. If you speak to some of the people that work with me at Swangs, I spend a sizable amount of time talking about growth. Whether it's during the lunch break or in a Monday status meeting or a departmental meeting, every opportunity I get, I'm talking to people about what are you doing to grow yourself?
Yeah.
Like, there's this thing I tell everyone in my businesses: if you don't have a personal growth plan, then you won't help my business, because you cannot tell me you care about my business so much more than yourself.
Yeah.
And when the more I keep digging. Even when we do strategy sessions for the business, and we do a 3-year strategy deck for the business and a full-year strategy deck for the business, I tell people, well, I don't have the power to demand to see your personal one, but I hope you have it. And if you want to take a day off to just put your life together and do a strat for it and say, this is what I'm doing 2024, please do it. And when we do our quarterly reviews as a business, I tell my people, please, over the weekend, can you do yours? Be honest with yourself. Find an accountability partner. If you want, I can do it for yourself. I've offered that to many people in my businesses, because I know if people are growing in your business, in their personal lives, they're going to grow your business because they have ambition, because they want to be somewhere, and because your business wants to be somewhere as well. You want to move with people. Otherwise, you can be stuck with people that are not growing, that don't have desires and goals and stuff. So it's growth, I think. It's the desire to grow. I'm very, very passionate about the desire to grow and do things.
That's one of the things. You as a leader, you as a mentor, is one of the things in my reading and, having spoken and knowing a couple of people that work closely within your organization. That's one thing that has universally come out, is the fact that Julius is a mentor. Julius is my biggest cheerleader, but he also holds me accountable to visualize and represent the best version of myself. Like you said, you don't have patience for people who are about bullshit. And I think that's one of the things that I also identify with very well. I can't want you to be more successful than you want yourself to be successful, right? Yeah. And growing a business the way that you have, with the longevity that it has experienced, and the continued growth potential that exists across the continent and even across the world, it has to be done with a very outstanding team.
Yeah.
So you talked about your mindset in terms of growth and everything like that. Is there a company culture that exists where, like, if somebody comes into Swangs on day one, this is the vibe when they walk into your office? First of all, walking into your office is like a train station. There's like 50 people moving around. It's in and out. People are all over the place. Swangs Academy, right? Swangs Academy, recording studios. The offices are there, editing bay. Everything is just vibrant and it's moving. And there's so many moving parts, so many people. It is reliant upon the outstanding work of so many individuals. Yeah. And not everybody can be the type of leader that harnesses the best out of all of these people. And like you said, they're giving the best to the business because they understand it is a vehicle to achieve the best for themselves. Mm-hmm. So talk to us a little bit more about that company culture. Again, where did you learn that from? Did you experience that working with somebody else, or is this just one of those things that you knew this is how it has to be in order for this business to become what I know it can?
So, well, a lot of it you learn by doing.
Yeah.
I didn't go to business school.
Okay.
Actually, I even dropped out of any degrees I would have gotten. I dropped out of uni voluntarily. I figured it was a waste of time. I think we spent so much time in school. So I dropped out. So it's not like I went to school, but I've learned by doing.
Yeah.
So you understand, human beings, that we are selfish by nature. So we are always going to first look out for what is in for me as a person. And when you understand that we are, intuitively wired like that,
Yeah.
then businesses and organizations should serve to fulfill that human need. So when they come into your space or your business, that's something I believe. Like if you interface with me, whether in my business or life or here in a conversation, I don't think that occurrence is accidental. I think there's a reason for that to happen, and you have a choice to either nourish it or F it up, because Gabs can give me a good Gabs if I give him a good Gabs, if I give him a good Julius, but he also has a monster in him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If I awaken that monster, I'll receive it.
Yeah.
And that's true for many people. And I think businesses have a role to help people find their best versions and find meaning outside of the business, but for themselves. So in terms of, the culture at Swangs, for instance, for me, it's values. It even comes down to how we hire people as an organization. So we don't hire for skills. Like in the past, maybe now you start seeing, us taking a different, because we're trying to also structure the business and all. But in the past, you never find us advertise a job and their qualifications of, bring your paperwork. You can ask people at Swangs. There are people that have worked with us for 8-10 years, and I don't even know what they did at school. Because half the time I don't think it's important. It's about what it is that you are able to do now, and your values. And everything else can be taught, but I can't teach you values. So we hire values. We don't hire for skill and paperwork and all, because school doesn't teach you anything. Like in all honesty, you hire people that come into, some people that have come into our businesses with first-class degrees, and you still have to teach them. But we can teach you what to do, but we can't teach you some values. I can't teach you to be a person of integrity, for instance. I can't teach you to do what you say you do. Yeah. That you have to have in you. So for us, in terms of our hiring process to keep the company culture intact, is we look at those things. What are your values? Do you do what you say you do? Yeah. Are you respectful? Because if you do what you say you do, a lot of things are going to work out, and you don't have to be super smart. And that has helped us keep a group of people. We have some really awesome people at Swangs and Bars and the other businesses, the collective, because the value set is intact. I'll give an example. Like the Baganda, for instance. I don't know, none of you guys are Baganda. So the Baganda don't even know what makes them Bagandas. For them, they think because your father is a Muganda, then you're a Muganda. Because your mother is a Muganda, no, you're a Muganda. No, that doesn't make you a Muganda. Buganda is a value set. And those values, the Baganda used to call them norms. So there were 10. So those 10 nonos, they're called Ubuntu. So you had those 10 values in you, alive or not alive. So either you are a just person, similar to the 10 Commandments, what our Christian colleagues, translated into the 10 Commandments. We've had them as norms. So when those 10 Ubuntus are bundled together, they form Omuganda, which is a bundle. So when you get the 10 things, tie them together, it makes what? Now, if your things are alive in you, if those values are alive in you, they will say, Ubuntu bulamu. Yes, Ubuntu bulamu, Ubuntu mulamu, which means your values in you are alive. So that meant that your Omuganda, your bundle, you're of the same Muganda as him. Because we are of the same bundle. You're of the same Omuganda. That's what makes you Oli Muganda. Muganda is not a tribe, it's not a color, it's values. So this is true for businesses, and I use this as a learning even in my businesses. it's the values. If you have a value set, a group of people with the same value system,
Yeah.
that will be a strong unit of people, and they can do anything. They can innovate, they can win, they can put everything on the line to win, because they are people of integrity. They share the same values. The skill set is different. That's totally different. That you can teach. You can go to school and learn, but it's the values. So it comes down to, if you're talking about culture at Swangs and all the different companies that we run, it comes down to that. We shop for the same values, and we train everything else.
Now, a lot of people know the companies that you run, but actually, you have business partners that are more in the forefront than you are. So you have been on at Swangs and, Buzz. You started this company with a wonderful lady named Tina. And I am, one of those people who have kind of struggled to find the right balance in business partnership versus friendship. Yeah. A lot of the time you love someone, you get along with them, you enjoy going out for drinks, or you've shared a lot of memorable social experiences with them. You think that's the proper substance upon which to build a business empire. And then when things go bad, the friendship goes bad. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you identified the brilliance in your partnerships, and what balance do you strike? What complementary, like you said, values and skill sets have you managed to harness with your key business partners that have allowed you to become as successful as you all have?
Okay, choosing my business partners has been, I think, a cornerstone for a lot of the things I've done. Like even when I started bars, and then I got on, a friend of mine, Tina, at the point after, I think, a very short time, and we worked together over 15 years. Awesome relationship. Best business decision at the time. Then I meet Ben on same thing, and a couple of other people. But of course, as we grow, you start to get a few of those wrong, but the rate has been fairly good. But again, like employees, it's the same thing. Like I go about it the same way. It's values first.
Yeah.
Like we must both be growth driven. We must be people of integrity before these other two things now. Like for me, it's that. Like once we are good with that, then these two things are going to be the next is commitment and compatibility.
Yeah.
Compatibility is very important, because a lot of entrepreneurs are quick to say, pick their friend as a partner, but you find that they are exactly the same people. They don't have any complementary skills to each other. They're all good for the same thing. So it always helps to find a partner who has complementary skills to yours. So then you form a team. Otherwise you don't want to have, otherwise you'll be the same person, just doubled up, duplicated.
Yeah.
So compatibility is very, very important, but also commitment. There are people that I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs get into ventures with busier people that are the right fit, right values, but there's no commitment. So you have them on paper, but they're not doing much really. So you need to be able to assess, is this person committed to what they say they will do? And sometimes they might not be committed as much, but what you need from them, and how it's going to benefit your cause or your business long term. But you need to have assessed it. You can't just leave it to chance that I don't know if he's committed, but he's complimentary, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
No, if he's complimentary but not committed, you're still going to struggle, because he has a complementary skill that is needed in a startup, but he's not there. He's not committed.
So I'm sorry, I'm going to bring you back a bit.
No, please.
So you spoke about choosing people based off of values as opposed to paperwork and so on. So I was actually having a conversation yesterday with someone, and we were talking about the job industry, right? And we're talking about what the reality is now compared to what our parents prepared us for. So no one knew what today would be like.
Yeah.
No one knew that. Let's say we're talking about doctors. Like, we do not need 10,000 doctors, especially in an economy where the top older doctors are not leaving, the older CEOs are not leaving, but the younger ones are just getting stockpiled from the bottom upwards. So no one knew or foresaw this very digital world whereby it's an oversaturation of the textbook jobs. Let me call them textbook jobs. The lawyers, the engineers, the doctors, and so on. And yet the booming, I believe, industry is the creative, for example. No one expected the buzz events and no one expected the creative agencies. Hell, most of those agencies are not really paper driven. It's not, you don't have to have a PhD to be the best graphics designer or have the most powerful agency. So now, in one way, someone could say, oh, look at you guys, or you, as people who adapted fast enough. Like you see the opportunity and you adapt fast enough. That's why you have, right now you have songs, you're streaming your music. I think you're one of the, you guys had the billboard in New York. No one saw that. No one predicted that. No one could have thought of that you guys did. What is your take on what the industry is evolving into, and how prepared do you have to be for the still rapidly changing world? Because the fact is, what we are right now, over the last 5 years, from 2019 to now, the world has changed faster than from 2010 to 2018. And it's still going to switch up.
So this is my take on change, and maybe it might not be a very popular take.
It's not average, so it's fine.
I see everyone fussing about change. Things are changing. People are complaining about Gen Zs and all that. But I don't think there's anything new that's happening that hasn't been happening over the years. Maybe because I've been working with young people for a long time, but I see change all the time. People are whining about Gen Zs. The millennials are whining about Gen Zs. But you know the boomers were worried about you guys as well.
Facts.
So these things are not new. These things happen. Like, I haven't been completely sold to say global warming, climate change. But I think, for instance, the climate is always changing anyways. Like, you cannot stop that. Like, so we just have to be responsible. And that maybe whoever is pushing that convention is to educate us more. Because I struggle to understand it. I have a plastics business. And I'm like, okay, plastic is bad for the environment. Maybe we shut down plastics. But what do we resort to? Paper, for instance. Trying to save the environment. But then you're cutting trees to do the paper.
Trees,
Then you recycle the plastic. So sometimes we jump on these narratives before we even understand them very well. So I feel like there's a bit of fear-mongering about change instead of a willingness to understand the future and be a part of it.
Nice.
You know, embrace the future and be a part of it. If you can create it, because there are two kinds of people. There are people that will create the future. Then there are people that will embrace the future and adopt to it. And there are people that are going to whine about it. And those are the losers. So the average people will adopt. They will survive. But the whiners will be crushed. They will complain about change. But the winners will create the change itself. So you can decide where you want to be. I don't see a problem. Like, for instance, everyone was complaining about, like, in my industry for music, especially in this country, everyone used to talk like this generation that's on the way out that used to say, oh, the industry is dead. Because back in the day, I would buy an album 50 million and he pays an artist. And you listen to that and like, these people are just dumb. Like, you've refused to understand that there is change, and it's even put us in a better place. Kasiwukira was buying your album at 50 million and distributing tapes to maybe 1 million Ugandans or even less. Now you stream to 1 million Ugandans in a minute.
Yes.
And you're saying the industry is dead. So you see that's a person on the way out. And sometimes people wonder why. I don't get into, there's always these associations and groups and forums that are complaining about copyright and this and that. I don't get involved as much because that's the convention you find. Like, people are trying to fight change. You find a musician telling you, we need to fight and we don't play foreign music in this country. So because we need to play our own music. And like, then you're not smart because you're the same person saying you want to go global. So, but then you're saying you're going to block international music in your country. So if the other guys also block your music, then you've cut your chance of going global. You must embrace that there's no boundaries with music. That you're competing with Burna Boy, with Wizkid, with Asha and everyone else. So instead of whining about it and saying, oh, stop playing foreign music, play Ugandan music, well, the competition is open. Adopt. Figure out a way to compete. Either find a niche, do a weird sound or find a way to compete. But whining about it, you just get crushed out of the business.
And I agree. I remember there's a time, even just a simple example. I remember, 10 years ago, 2014, the average hot Ugandan music video had what? 50K views? 100K views? That was the hot song.
Yep.
2013, I remember like the baddest song, and guys were like, man, we can't go to YouTube. We can't afford the data. Like, it was really bad. And then, I don't know when City Allos came out. But look, 2M, 3M, right now, hitting an M is normal in Uganda.
Yeah.
Like, guys just evolved and they adapted.
Yeah.
There's like really an open stage.
But Bailando did like about 5 million in a short time.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I see some of Azawi's numbers. I see Eddie Kenzo's numbers. There's this video we did with Spice last year or the other year. That thing also, I think, has done like 4 million. Like,
it's a normal thing now.
And then imagine, so this is the ignorancy that a lot of people carry with them when they're trying to get stuck in the past. So they will tell you, yeah, they used to pay 50 million to buy your album.
Yeah.
And then it will be distributed on CDs or cassettes. But now, people paid that to make a social media post. An artist is paid that to do 3 social media posts.
Imagine.
And they don't even sell their rights to the music. And you're saying the industry is dead. No, the industry is not dead. It's dead to the old that cannot adopt.
Yeah.
But the game is evolving. The infrastructure is evolving. How it's played is evolving. And I think it explains why every 2-3 years, and not to sound cocky, but that it's a new label trying to come up. There's a new studio that's trying to set up. And then you don't hear about them after 2 years. Because everyone is trying to play in the now, and no one wants to participate in creating the future. Like, everyone just wants to invest in the now, the today, compete. Like, I don't like to compete. I like to dominate the future you create. Like, I'm not in the business of competing.
Talk that, Julius.
I like that.
I like that, man. And I think that's, I mean, you've already answered my question as to why do you think Ugandan musicians haven't gone global the way that our West African and South African and even Tanzanian counterparts have? Because Kenyans like Sauti Sol, for example, I feel like they're making music for the world.
Yeah.
And a lot of Ugandan artists are making music for their neighborhood, people to recognize them as a local celeb.
Living in the now.
Right? Because what feeds me is being able to go to this local park over here and
my joint.
Collect my 1 or 2 milli for a show. So I mean, you've said it best. People are not looking at the future.
The inability for us to predict the future or even create it is what's hurting us as much. Because now you hear a trend and you jump on the trend. There's a trend and you jump on the trend. But don't you think you have it in you to start and create a trend?
Absolutely.
But still jump on one. There's many things we've done that at the start were unpopular. But we stuck to them. And then they're like, there's a plan around this. You guys don't have visibility on this. You didn't ask us to do it. So we don't care what you think about it. We are, there's this line we keep using. We are answerable to the music.
Nice.
And the fans. That's why we try and stay away from, the politics. We encourage our artists, if you can avoid the politics, you're a musician. And you serve all musicians regardless of their political side. And I know they have a duty to society to air certain issues, but don't forget who you are first. For you to service the bigger community, you first need to service you so you can be useful. It's like how people say, no, for me, I just want to help people. That's not the job. You want to help people first have money.
Exactly.
Then you'll be useful to anyone. If you don't have money, then how are you going to help other people? So it's the same thing if you're an artist. Spend as much time as you can working on your craft, anticipating the future or creating the future or the trend or the, whatever is new, and give yourself a chance to compete.
I think you're a visionary, man, and I think you're giving people so much game in this conversation right now, because a lot of people attach success, particularly in the entertainment business, to talent. When talent is a much smaller piece of the pie, actually, when you think about it, it's attached to your work ethic. It's attached to your willingness
100%.
to listen and learn and observe the trends see the future and position yourself to understand where you fit in that game. But most importantly, it's about who you align yourself with.
Yeah.
A lot of these, man, it's very disappointing to me when I see these music labels that come and go. They're developing talent, they're developing artists, but in a way they're doing it for predatory reasons because they just want to have somebody that they can eat off for a couple of years and then they come and go because you're not interested in longevity. You mentioned that you're not interested in all of these associations and all of that stuff because you see people are in the now rather than looking at the future. They're even stuck in the past. How do you avoid that? Like how I don't know what question I'm trying to ask is because I'm recognizing that you've told us all of this already, but I'm just like, okay, what is your opinion of all of this when you read it in the news? Are you disappointed? Are you like, yeah, it's typical?
There are things I see in the news, especially, with some of the key influential people in the industry.
Yeah.
For me, I don't worry about them as much.
Yeah.
I mean, most of them, by the time you see them in the news and calling press conferences and, so I feel they've already peaked.
Bro, guys need a press conference for everybody. I took a shit. Press conference.
Oh yeah. Oh, musicians love press conferences.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like they've peaked in terms of their careers. Or they are right there. They've done well for themselves. For me, what I worry about is the next act.
Yeah.
Are we setting the right example for the next talent?
Yeah.
And you could see this. Remember, there's a group of our bigger stars that we celebrate and we love and respect a lot, and they happen to be my friends, the big three. Mm-hmm. But we all know also a lot of the popularity was built around, aggressiveness and fighting and all that. And that did well at the time. But then you see that there's a generation that also picked that bit of inspiration and they thought they would ride with the same.
Yeah.
And for a lot of them, it kind of backfired or didn't work out. It worked out for a few artists, that followed a bit. But the consumer is not about that anymore. No. So you need to be aware of what the consumer is about. The consumer, even when you go for other products, before then, you'd listen to, say, Bebe Cool. And if you listen to Bebe Cool, you don't listen to Bobby Wine.
Yeah.
If you go to a bar and you drink club beer, you can never touch Belaga. Or if you drink a Pepsi, there's that loyalty across, not just music. Everywhere else. Like people at their channels they watch. You can't find them watching another channel. They'll be like, what's put on that channel? Why you listen to Bobby Wine? Me, I'm a Bebe Cool fan, a Chameleon fan.
Yeah.
But that has changed across the board. Like people want to experiment and consume everything and have bits of everything. No consumer sits on their phone and says, I'm going to listen to Bebe Cool alone. No.
Yeah.
No, every consumer is a DJ now.
Yes.
Everyone's looking for vibe. They are going to create music based on how they feel. Now, but then you find an artist, he thinks his competition is the other artist. No, your competition is not the other artist because you need to think how much time is my consumer or the consumer, not even your consumer, because people are stuck up in this, these are my fans. No, the question that need to be asked now, the person who consumes our music and our art, what else are they consuming?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because while they are consuming that other thing, they are not listening to my music or watching my video. So then that redefines who your competition is. If you are Zao, your competition is not Irene Italy. If you are Irene, your competition is not Vinka. If you Vinka, is not Shiba. Your competition is the TikToker who just woke up and said, I'm going to be funny. Because while the consumer is watching that TikToker or whoever is putting out content, they are not watching your video.
You see, now that's next level. That's futuristic because that's now data-driven decision making. Labels don't do data-driven decision making.
No.
They do artist-based.
Which labels are we talking about?
The others. Just so we're clear, the others. Suppose what you
The
guys are
average
doing, the
labels.
average ones. So what you're doing is treating an artist like a product properly.
Yeah.
Because that's actually data-driven decision making.
Yeah.
What are you looking at when you look at my artist? Guys don't do that. And this is actually impressive stuff. This is actually interesting.
No. You have to because musicians lately they think, yeah, I'm a musician, I do music, I get bookings. No, you're not. You're more than that. You're an influencer, you're a content creator.
Right.
You should be able to sell products.
Yeah.
People are going to pay you more to move goods and products. You have influence. You can't waste that on just being on stage. So which means the other things that are going to come into play. How are you carrying yourself? How are you relating with your fans? What does the public say about you? You need to pay for surveys now. You need to understand who's listening to you. Where are they? What did you do right? Like, for instance, in about 2-3 years ago, African Music has always album. So we had 2 songs of the album that went on to be #1 in Southeastern Asia, in weird countries. Because we look at the data and you're like, they are streaming us in this slow dancing, as #1 in Papua New Guinea and some other countries in Southern East Asia for months. Apple #1, Apple iTunes #1 in funny countries we've never had. And you look at that data and you try to understand, what did we do right? Or how did we end up here?
Yes.
Otherwise you never know. And then you look at those metrics and like, okay, we have a spike in this country when we did this, or when we say this. Then you're like, okay, maybe we need to say more of that or less of that, because it gives us a result that is not desired or unintended result. That's how you run the business. The music business is not any different from everything else. And people tend to think the music business is vibes. It's not vibes. There's data that must be looked at. There's data that must be interpreted well. And then strategies to unpack those opportunities.
You mentioned Club, Bell. You've worked with big brands throughout your entire career. Alcohol, non-alcohol brands. And you maintain strong partnerships to this day. I've worked in brand marketing for a long time. Jacob himself is actively participating in brand marketing through his business, his creative agency. I feel like things are still at the tipping point of doing it very well. Yeah? We associate ourselves with a lot of great platforms like the ones that you have created, but I feel like there are still things, particularly in the influencer marketing space and these digital spaces, that our brands just haven't harnessed yet. And the way that you're communicating right now shows me that you're very switched on and in tune with analyzing the data, understanding where consumers' attention is and what exactly is going to move the needle for your artists and for your brands, your platforms and whatnot. What advice can you give to these people who are still very much attached to, again, doing things in the now rather than in the future, whether they be your brand partners or not?
I think for brands especially, in other markets it's different, but for brands in this market, there's been a bad historical relationship with people that create experiences and creators of experiences and brands. So the brands have always behaved like, it's more like a godfather-son relationship. So there's not been enough appreciation of the creatives that they're actually strategic partners to move brand conversations. And that's why they talk about it, everyone calls it sponsorship. It feels like it's a giveaway. And you find this with many marketers. Once they get into these positions, there's that aura about, there's that feeling of, no, we are there. And true they are. Like, the brands are bigger than most of the creators. They are bigger than the agencies. But imagine if the brands embraced and appreciated the partnership and the things they could do to unpack with the creatives. Imagine if brands in this country are doing a lot of collaborations, because now what they are doing is handouts, as if we are in such a handout economy. I'll give you a sponsorship, but how comes you get into as a partnership? Like, for instance, take me up as a brand ambassador for, say, John Walker. But because I'm going to do A, B, C, D, give me my KPIs, but let me get a cut or of every sale you make in this territory or whatever. Or I'm the baddest at this bar. Everyone, I tend to influence everyone, and I'm going to push for people to do John Walker and not do the other brand. But I need a cut of that. Like, that's a relationship. That's a business relationship. Those are the conversations we need to start having, as opposed to, I'll give you this much money and I come and brand. Like, I don't think the brands are getting value, but also on their end, they they don't have the appreciation of what they could get from the creators, because the creators are impactful, are powerful. They have the influence. They can change conversations.
Yeah.
And the consumers look at brands as, you just want my money. Whatever you do, you just want my money. You run an ad on TV to just take my money. You know. But then they don't view their favorite artist or podcaster star or whatever the same way. They relate better with this person because they think this person relates with them. They understand their need. They are one of them. So if Vinka says, because she has a baby and she says, guys, by the way, this pamper, gave fun irritations to my child, but when I switched this one, this worked. They are going to believe Vinka more than they will believe the brand advert on TV.
I like that. Yeah.
So brands need to appreciate that more. That actually we could do a lot more if we seek these partnerships more. I see that has happened. It's a bit advanced in many other markets. We haven't embraced it as much here. And also, just to be fair to also the brands and the marketers, on the creator side, we've not done enough to monetize and put in place measures to measure. How do you measure your influence and impact? Many people can. Now it's tagged to how many followers do you have, which is also, it has its issues. Yes. You find someone has 1 million followers, but maybe I just need to reach out to teenagers that are 15. I'll give an example. Recently, we are doing the Buzz Youth Conference. Tech-led, AI and stuff, get the young people to. So our digital team did the usual influencer list. Like, can we get this person to talk about us and all that? So one of them comes up and says, no, guys. Yeah, these guys are good. They have the numbers and all. And we know in those millions of followers, there are some young people. But are they going to believe these guys? So they actually brought my daughter on the team, who's a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
And she was like, I know these guys, but I would rather, I forget the guy's name. She dropped some names. I'd rather if this person says it, all my friends will come. I'm like, so who's that person? It's another kid at school. Oh, what does he do? He raps. But all international schools know him.
Nice.
And they started changed then. They were like, so we got all these young people that they relate with and had to abandon all these 1 million followers and all that.
Yeah.
But so brands need to do a bit more of that. Don't just look at the numbers. This has 4 million. You need to dissect further and say, okay, who's relating with these people? This million, where are they? I've seen brands take influencers who have millions of followers, and half those are in diaspora, and you're selling local. and those are the things we are trying to help clients appreciate. So in our digital marketing side of the business at Swangs, so we try and get clients to understand that and don't just chase the numbers, get into the actual meat of it.
It was actually Agamba who, when Agamba, Roger, shout out, was in charge of JW, and he told me, and I think we're just having a normal conversation, and he's thinking for the top of his head, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to do these guys. And then I asked him, I'm like, okay, why aren't you doing the regular influencers? He's like, yeah, those influencers are good, but I'm going with, I think at the time it was Didan and Salvador something. And he's like, I want these people, because I know these people are going to go to a bar, they're going to drink this, and the people next to them are going to buy at least 2 or 3 or 4 more bottles. And that was the first time I actually started rethinking the whole point of influencership. He didn't want to just get people who have the numbers and, I've posted, my video has been viewed 10,000 times. He said, I want people, they may not be posting so much, but when they go out, I'm guaranteed that Gabs, you're going to buy a drink, Julius, you're going to buy a bottle. We're going to have, our table is going to have 3 bottles. Already sales are going up. Yeah. That's the first time I started rethinking the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a brilliant way of doing. I don't know why many brands have not done that. But people are lazy also.
Yes, they are.
So, a brand person is happy to sign up 3-5 influencers. 5 easy conversations. Than deal with 30 conversations that will give you actually more results and maybe be cheaper even. It gives you more value. And that's why you need to come to us, for instance. Let us handle that drama for you. Tell us what the problem is. let us find the right people to get that word across. Actually, people many times think, Swangs, we're a record company. We record artists and everything. It's one of our things that we do. But when you look at even our revenues, the label side of the business is about it's about 15%. It's under 15%. So what do we do mostly? Communication. We produce communication materials. We manage these conversations. And our artists are also part of those conversations because we don't just look at them as musicians. We look at them as influencers. We look at them as content creators. We look at them as businesses.
Coming up on part 2 of Allergic to Average with Julius Kyazze.
So working with Kanye West, I remember the point when it hit me that actually this thing is happening is when I met his personal assistant. And this lady was fussing about, so the bedroom has a Samsung 40-inch and the sitting room has a Sony 41-point-something-inch TV. That's a problem. And now we are in a room that we've secured for Kanye. The TV in the bedroom must be the same color, size, model, make. He can't move from the bedroom and move to the sitting room and then
the ratio
TV.
changes.
So when that